You adjusted your answer before you finished the sentence. You watched their face instead of saying what you meant. You softened it. You qualified it. You checked, and you don't even know you do it anymore. The moment you need their validation, you have already lost. Not the argument, not the negotiation, the position. Because the moment you need something from them, they have something on you. Think about who keeps winning in your life. Now think about one thing they have in common. They don't need you to agree. They don't need you to understand. They don't need you at all, and you can feel it. That feeling is called leverage. You are taught that wanting to be understood is human, that seeking connection is healthy. In some rooms, that is true. In every other room, it is the most readable vulnerability you carry, and it broadcasts on a frequency everyone can hear. This video is about one thing: the day you stop needing the signal, and what happens to every dynamic in your life the moment that need goes dark. Here is the first thing you need to hear. The need for approval was installed. You were not born with it. It was put there by school systems, by families, by every environment that rewarded performance and withheld recognition until you earned it on their terms.
Every gold star, every withheld nod, every time someone made you work for their basic acknowledgement, they were training you. By the time you were an adult, the loop was automatic. You don't even notice it running. And then the people who figured this out, the ones who understood that withholding validation is a control mechanism, they found you. And they have been running that mechanism ever since. The boss who never quite acknowledges your work, the partner who gives you warmth on their schedule, the friend who makes you earn the room. None of this is accidental. Approval withholding is one of the oldest power tools that exists. You are not weak for having the need. You are operating on software that was written before you had a choice. The question is whether you update it or let it keep running your life on someone else's schedule. The men who stopped needing it, the ones who made you feel that unnerving sense of being unable to reach them, they didn't get lucky. They found the same thing you are finding right now. And the philosopher who mapped this most precisely, who saw it clearly enough to write it down 2,000 years ago in a private journal he never meant anyone to read, was already living without the need, completely by design.
Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, the most powerful man alive for 19 years. He had rooms full of people whose entire function was to validate him, flatter him, reflect his greatness back at him every single day. He had more external validation available to him than any man in history. And in his private journal, never written for any reader, he wrote about the emptiness of it, about how little all of it meant, about the men who chased it as a kind of tragedy. He wrote about men who spent their whole lives measuring themselves through other people's eyes, who could not act without first checking the reaction, who built their entire sense of self on a foundation that shifted every time someone else's mood shifted. He wrote in Meditations, "We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own." That is not philosophy. That is a diagnosis, and if you are watching this video, you already know exactly what he means. You love yourself, but you have been outsourcing the measure of your own worth to people who have their own agenda. Tonight, that contract ends. Lesson 1. The approval loop is a trap with no exit. Approval seeking does not have a finish line. There is no amount of validation that closes the loop. Every hit opens the appetite for the next one. You are not trying to feel good. You are trying to feel safe, and that need cannot be filled from the outside. You got the promotion. You waited for them to acknowledge it the way you needed. They didn't. You got the recognition. It lasted 2 days. You said the right thing in the meeting. You watched their face. It didn't land the way you hoped. And each time, the loop reruns. The psychology? External validation triggers the same dopamine pathway as any other variable reward system. The reward is designed to be inconsistent because inconsistent reward trains the strongest seeking behavior. The people who understand this use it consciously. Starting today, when you catch yourself scanning a face for the signal, name it out loud if you can. I am scanning. The act of naming activates the observer. The observer is not seeking. The loop cannot run while you are watching it run. Lesson 2. Visibility is vulnerability. Every time you seek approval, you make 2 things visible at once: what you want and what you will do to get it. That is not connection. That is a full intelligence briefing on how to manage you. You've walked into a negotiation and smiled too early. You've texted back too fast. You've laughed at something that wasn't funny because you needed the room to stay warm. In every one of those moments, you handed over your position before the meeting started. Approval seeking signals low status automatically because high-status individuals do not adjust their behavior to regulate other people's emotional responses to them. When you seek approval, you are not just feeling something, you are broadcasting your position in every hierarchy you inhabit. Starting today, in every room, arrive as if the room is already yours, not aggressively, not loudly, simply without the scan. Speak at the same pace you would use alone. Hold your position for 3 extra seconds before adjusting. Watch what happens to the room when you stop asking it for permission to be in it.
Lesson 3. Your standard is your sovereignty. The man who judges himself by his own standard cannot be manipulated by anyone else's. This knowledge is for protection, not destruction. It is not about becoming untouchable to love. It is about becoming unreachable to exploitation. You have done good work and not posted it. You have made a hard decision alone and felt nothing because no one witnessed it. You have measured your own effort and then immediately invalidated it by checking whether someone else confirmed the measurement. Your own verdict doesn't count to you. That is the wound. When external approval is your measuring stick, every person who withholds it becomes a threat to your self-concept. That is why certain people can derail you with a single cold response. They are not powerful. They are holding a measuring stick you handed them. Starting today, when you finish something, deliver your own verdict first, before you show it, before you send it, before anyone else touches it. Sit with it for 60 seconds and decide what you think. Then let the outside world respond. Their response is information, not judgment. Information. Lesson 4. Indifference is not coldness, it is freedom. They will tell you that not caring what people think makes you arrogant, closed, dead inside. None of that is true. What it actually makes you is impossible to steer. The people who have made you feel unimportant, who gave you the cold shoulder, who withheld the nod, who made you work for the basic dignity of being acknowledged, they only had power in proportion to how much you needed the thing they were withholding. Remove the need, they have nothing left. Starting today, identify one person whose approval you have been running on, one. Then, for 7 days, make one decision per day without checking what they would think. Not against them, without them. The difference between those 2 words is the entire distance between reaction and freedom. Lesson 5. Build the internal audience. Every man who stopped needing external approval replaced it with something, not emptiness, not arrogance, a different audience entirely. One that cannot be bribed, silenced, or manipulated. Himself. The future version. The standard he set when no one was watching.
Marcus Aurelius wrote for no audience. Epictetus argued with emperors who could execute him. Seneca wrote letters to one friend about a truth that applied to every man. None of them needed the room to confirm that what they were doing mattered. The work was the audience. Starting today, before every significant action, ask, would the man I am trying to become respect this decision? Not your friends, not your followers, not the person whose approval you have been running on. The man you are building. His verdict is the one that compounds. His is the only one that builds anything real. You have been running a system that was installed before you knew it was there, a loop that takes your best energy and feeds it into a machine that produces nothing permanent, just the temporary quiet of having been seen, and then the hunger again. The old you is dead, the one who adjusted sentences before finishing them, who scanned faces for the signal, who called it people skills and called it social intelligence and called it anything except what it was, a dependency. Gone. You are a weapon, pointed at your own future, not at the people who withheld the signal, not at the system that installed the loop, at what you were building with the energy you just reclaimed. Forward, every unit of it. Forward.
You belong to no one. Not to the boss with the withheld nod, not to the voice in your head that sounds like every person who ever made you earn the room, not to the loop. The contract is canceled. You are the only authority on the question of your own worth. Marcus Aurelius had every room in the known world ready to applaud him. He wrote in private about how little it meant. He already knew what you just figured out. The only verdict that builds anything is yours. You found this. That means something in you already knew the loop was costing more than it was giving. That instinct was accurate. The fact that you are still watching is the evidence. There is more here. The full architecture, every mechanism that was installed, mapped, named, and dismantled, one video at a time on this channel. For the men who are done being steered. Subscribe if it's yours. The button is there. You do not need my permission, and I am not asking for yours. If what you heard tonight belongs in your operating system, you already know what to do. This is not a single video. It is a long game, and the long game belongs to the man who stopped needing the room to confirm that he was building something real and simply built it. One question for the comments. Think about it for as long as it takes. Whose approval have you been running on, and what has it cost you to keep the loop alive? Name it, not for me, for the man who has to live with the answer.